and then I stick with it, and it helps me strip the scope. And that's basically the key to delivery. So yes, it's a guess, but stick with it. Kind of weird, but works. And that's at least my opinion. I may be wrong.
Even there is a contradiction between minimal viable product and A/B testing, because, as you said, we leave only the critical stuff. So when only the critical stuff is left, it's like it's obvious what there is to test to, especially when you're creating the product from scratch.
First of all, very true. I 100% agree. There is this tendency, once you're introduced to A/B testing, to make an inflation of the tests you do. So in the spirit of a minimal valuable product, I would agree with you totally that we should minimize the amount of A/B testing. Yet I would not give it up. There are those decisions that are trivial, but you will see when you do this that there are, and if not, then okay, you can skip A/B testing in the first place, it's okay. But there are those decisions that you're not sure of and have strong impact on your strategy. The classic one, by the way, is price. So I would say that as a guiding rule, I would not skip A/B testing, although it takes development time and integration time and everything. But I would definitely go with your approach and minimize the A/B testing to a minimum. And I will do A/B testing also if I know what am I testing, like what are the results I'm looking for, such as how many sales I sold in this given price, and what is the action I will take based on this result. Because if I don't intend to take any action based on A/B testing, then don't do it. But A/B testing is something I would not miss. For me, it's part of the minimum value. Yes?
When you're working with A/B test, how many different options usually you are launching at the same time? Just two or going to them?
Very, very good question. I am, again, in the spirit of minimizing the A/B testing, I like A/B tests of only two options. A and B. But sometimes, unfortunately, you don't have a choice. In Wix today, as an example, we have to run several A/B testings at once. So even if you stick with the 2 options guidelines, if you do 2 tests at the same time, you get 4 options, 8 options, etc., etc. Bear in mind that there are 2 reasons why to do only 2 options in A/B testing. One reason is that it's simpler and takes less time, and it's in the spirit of minimal valuable product, and we want to minimize the test to the like surgical place that is identified. And the second thing is that, you know, you will have certain amount of users to test on. And mathematics dictates that, you know, in order for the statistics to be valid, you need a certain amount of actions. So 4 options A/B testing means that every tested group is 1/4 of your total users, and your test will require double the time in 2 options. So in order to get the results as soon as possible, it's better to do 2 options, get the results, let's say, in a week, and then do a second test and get the second results in another week.
One more question.
Yeah.
How you calculate the number of people which must use A/B testing?
Well, it's a good question. First of all, in many cases, you will not calculate because you don't have a lot of choice. The validity of an A/B testing increases as the amount of users grow up. But let's say if you have only 100 users, so you do 50-50, and even if 50 is not enough, that's what you have. And it will give you at least a hunch with regard to what you're doing. In Wix today, we have 45 million users, so yes, it's kind of not a question. But basically, you know, statistics will show you when you get valid results. You know, if it is 1 or 2 or 3 people change, it makes no sense. And by the way, those automatic tools of A/B testing actually tell you when you are in a stage where probability is good enough. You don't have to calculate it yourself. Yes?
When you're especially launching a new product from scratch and doing all this MVP, testing and stuff, you don't know, you guess the deadlines, basically you're in a bit still chaos, and you have to manage the team in this chaos environment. So I guess, would you agree that communication becomes really a challenge? And what tools or methods do you use to, you know, align everybody on the same goal and to communicate between designers and developers and product managers and marketing and so on?
First of all, I agree with the description of the situation. It's very correct, and I also agree that the biggest challenge is communication. And my answer for this is very simple, wireframes. One of not one of the reasons, the reason why I'm such a believer in wireframes, and not in design screening specs, is that a wireframe is a great way to communicate between people. Because you have a single document that is shared by everybody and reflects how your product is going to be. Everybody can change it, and it allows you to do collaborative work. And I would say tell you more of that. The more freedom and more access you will give to your wireframes, the better communication you will have. Many people tend to block, as an example, their developers from the wireframe at the first stage. No. From the first moment, make your wireframes accessible to everybody. I'm talking about tools to do wireframes. There is a tool called Balsamic that is a great tool to do wireframes, and one of its advantages is to basically share your product with the entire team. And everybody can put these yellow notes with remarks, and actually encourage people to change things for the product manager.
So
Make a very
increases engagement probably.
Yes, definitely. Also allows, it allows everybody to see it. The nice thing about it is the closest thing you'll have to the way the product is going to be in a very early stage. By the way, I can tell you that one of the things I do in Wix, I work a lot with outsourcing companies. Many people complain that they have a hard time communicating with the outsourcing companies, and the outsourcing companies tell them afterwards, I did not understand what you meant in the beginning. I never had this problem. And wireframes is the tool. Wireframes, the solution for communications, it's basically that.
Have you ever had a situation back in your experience or on Wix that when you launched the product in beta version and afterwards you had to kill it because you didn't get the right ethics you had anticipated?
Totally kill it.
Yeah. A
Yes,
product or
yes, yes. I messed up once big time. In Wix, in the days, we moved to HTML a few years ago. Before that, we had a Flash product. One of my first projects in Wix was doing a blog for the Flash product. It died, and rightfully so. It was very bad. We need to do a second phase and do it again. There were many times where I had to do massive changes. I think, though, that this method I spoke with you about today kind of minimized the chances of this to happen to a necessary minimum. I can tell you with the aspect of the upmarket, many partners come to the upmarket now with products, and when we get into the stage where they already developed the product, and we have to tell them, no, this product does not go to the upmarket because it doesn't meet our standards. That's kind of a daily experience for us. We're trying to nurse them afterwards to a better product. It happens, yes. I mean, there's no, even if you use this, and by the way, this is just a suggestion, even if you improvise with this and find a method that works for you, probably still you're gonna, not all your projects, I still hardly have projects that end on time. Admit that. I'm not radical in going away from my time frames, but hardly any of my projects finish in time. There is probably something in the DNA of software engineering that makes finishing projects in time almost impossible. So I don't worry about it so much, but I try to minimize it, to make it smaller. Not always I succeed. But at least I think this is a nice way to try to do it to the best of our abilities. I mean, we did not solve the software crisis yet. It's kind of an approach. Yes?
You said that you usually put functionality above design, but isn't there the danger that you might functionality above usability at the same time?
I kind of think so. Functionality is something that includes the user interface and the user experience.
But as you said, that wireframes are drawn by product managers, but designers are more experts in usability, and if they are working later.
No, it's a good question. I don't think okay, let's do this. I don't think usability should be sacrificed. I'm not so sure the designers are better than. There is the UI UX designer, which kind of stands in the middle. I would say that in order to prevent that, simply talk to the designer when you do the wireframe. Get their input. That is a must. Like by the way, also with the developers and with the management. Yeah, definitely the ones I talk a lot when I do the wireframe is the UI UX designer? Yes, of course. And they tell you sometimes, no. There are some considerations. They don't talk about it, so I didn't go to details. There is something called default. Now we have different screens. So the question is, where is going to be the end of the screen where the user is not going to see? So we actually draw lines today in the wireframe telling us where is the end of the screen, just as an example. So usability and functionality for me are kind of the same thing, to be fully honest. I don't differentiate between the two. Yes?
How do you approach solving retention churn problems, please?
Well, first of all, it's a big issue. I can tell you that there is churn in Wix, by the way, and there's churns for applications inside the app market. And again, there are numerous things you do that. Actually, one of the things we did in order to increase the engagement of our users is the app market itself. So when you come to think about it, Wix is a tool that allows you to create websites. You create the website looks great, but we didn't have anything to actually tie the user to us at this stage. Once you add the app market, you can add functionality that creates engagement by definition. As an example, if there is an application that does contact forms, and this application has a front end, there's a contact form, and a back end, actually create a database of all the users that were in your website. So right now, the user actually cannot leave, because then you lose the database. In Wix, as an example, we don't give the users the source code, believe it or not. We are the one who hosts their websites, and we also have the code with us. So if they leave us, things go away. I can tell you that churn is a very tricky thing. Conversion is very easy to test with A/B testing. You see conversion very easily with A/B testing. A/B testing with churn takes a long time. Like you need to do it 4 months. In Wix today, with 45 million users, effective A/B testing for churn takes me 4 months. It's a big challenge. I have an application now, you can see it in the app market, called InfoLinks. Get Traffic. It's an application that allows Wix users to buy traffic in $40 and use a very simple interface to create a marketing campaign, basically. It's a great application, it was a great success, but then we found out it has huge churn, closer to 50%. So we started working with them on reducing churn. So we investigated all kinds of directions, and then you wait for a long time to see the impact on the churn. Eventually we found out that the thing that had the most impact on the churn, believe it or not, is telling the users, notifying them, that a user came from the marketing campaign. Which is kind of, when you think about it, trivial, but we didn't guess. So, yeah, churn is a big thing. I have no strict answer for that. You try things, and the most frustrating thing about reducing the churn is that you change something, you have to wait 4 months until you see an impact. It's crazy. It's part of the deal. These are like the complex, dark corners of product management, I would say. Churn. It's a challenge. By the way, I want to tell you something about this that's very interesting. Wix took a strategic decision at its beginning not to handle churn. We preferred to focus on conversion and skip churn for a while. It took us more than 2 years after we launched product to production before we started handling churn. And that's a brave decision, and in many cases maybe smart. Because churn is that hard, maybe you can invest the same amount of work in improving conversion, which will increase eventually your money and your survival chances. That's another way to look at it. Any other? Yes.
So you said that you basically failed only once.
No, I failed many more times. One time I had to kill a product for sure. But I have a long and impressive resume of failures. My first startup, WebMap, was a total failure. I lost my investors $6 million. The product did not succeed. I tried to take the product, change it into a different tool for financial investors. Total fiasco as well. Trust me, I have lots of failures behind me. Very expensive school.
From time to time you do that.
Oh, I fail a lot.
Because I
But
almost,
killing totally a product only once. Failures, plenty of.
because I almost thought that your methodology of project management, when you do all this MVPs, stuff,
I did-
like 99%.
I wish. I did not find out the way to to succeed in all the startups I have. I would leave Wix and start 10 new startups immediately, and I know that. But I can tell you one thing that I am good at. I'm very good in delivery. I'm very good in getting the product actually to production. That is something that this system allows me to do. You know, the recipe for 100% success. Not yet. On it. Trying.
So I actually had a twofold question.
Yeah.
The second part was probably the answer is no. But, do you think that people or startups or project managers or developers in general sometimes tend to over MVP and over emphasize the methodology, and they tend to get stuck into this analysis paralysis? Or is it?
Yes and no. We are all too in love with our methodologies. That is a human thing. You get in love with you fall in love with your products, you fall in love with your methodologies, you're sure you're right. I'm from Israel originally, and Israel is this kind of a nation where everybody is absolutely sure he's right all the time. Almost a disease. So yes, we are too attached to methodologies and stuff, and myself as well. But but on the first question, over MVP, no. Even me, I find that I'm falling in love with features, and I'm doing this. Almost every product I have, if I look at it, had I been looking at it objectively, there were things I could have cut out, and I did not. And I'm a very MVP type of product manager, and yet happens all the time. It's the human thing, you know. We want to make the best. Like the tendency of us is to make the best thing we can, and the best thing we can goes against the idea of MVP. So we kind of have to fight our own tendencies and instincts.